Going a little extra. Take one.
Stay tuned until the end to see the full video. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or depending on what time you are watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Mia Goth and Ty West are back. Our beloved character of X returns, MaXXXine herself, this time picking up 6 years later after the events of X. It's now 1985, Hollywood, California. We see the character of MaXXXine going through her trials and tribulations of just becoming a star. So going into this movie, I was definitely super stoked. I've been looking forward to this one since they announced it at the end of Pearl, if you remember that little teaser that they gave. And then MaXXXine is, it truly is just your direct sequel to X. And that was kind of the unique thing about going into X is you didn't really know who the final girl might be or who might survive this movie. So I remember going in thinking like, oh, maybe Jenna Ortega will be the final girl, even though Mia Goth was more on the marketing and the posters. Before I do go into the details of MaXXXine, I just want to let everybody know that there are spoilers ahead. So if you've not seen MaXXXine, you may want to pause this or come back at a later time. The first thing I want to say that I liked is the setting. I absolutely love this setting. Hollywood, 1985. They do a lot of stuff on like the Universal backlot, which is really cool. I actually used to work on the Universal backlot, specifically where the scenes where she goes to the Bates Motel Psycho House. So I used to work literally right there. So that was super cool just to see that like on the big screen. And of course it has its unique mark in film history as well. Hollywood was definitely the best choice, especially for her character to go there. One of the other things that I really love that I wasn't expecting for this movie is the theme. X, Pearl, and MaXXXine, they're all technically horror. If you would say like, well, what type of movie is that to somebody that doesn't know? You say, yeah, it's a horror movie. I would say the one thing that I kind of don't like about all three movies is that they're not generally scary. I would say X comes the closest to true like tension or scariness overall. I would not even classify this as a horror movie. I think this is more of a mystery noir. There's times where I'm hearing the music and it just kind of reminds me of like, if you ever played the LA Noire video game, there's times where it kind of reminded me of like the Sin City score, which just has that film noir kind of feel to it, like Chinatown, Maltese Falcon, and I really loved it. But if you're going to go in thinking that it's going to be straight up horror, I mean, you're still going to get those horror elements. It is a slasher. You do get you do get a lot of on-screen violence. There's definitely some gory effects, 100%. But as far as the scares, it's not quite there. But if you go in knowing that it's a mystery noir movie, yeah, I totally digged it. The biggest thing that I ultimately liked about the movie is Mia Goth herself. Once again, she absolutely nails it, whether she's playing Pearl, whether she's playing MaXXXine. In this case, she's mostly just playing MaXXXine, although we do get a little bit of a nice little Pearl cameo as well. Like, her character, like, owns every scene. She knows that she wants to be the biggest name in the room. And there are scenes where she's talking to the director of the movie that she's starring in, Elizabeth Debicki. So there's scenes where she kind of feels like a little intimidated by her, but she also wants to make a good impression. Mia Goth, probably going to be the highlight of the movie. If you're a fan of hers, then I think you're going to have a good time. Things that I didn't like about the movie. First off, this movie, again, it is a horror movie. You're not going to be that scared. There are some good gory scenes, but if you're looking for that kind of chill factor, it's going to fall short on that. Another thing is we have a pretty good stacked cast in this movie. We have Giancarlo Esposito, always great, Kevin Bacon, and Lily Collins. First off, she is like barely in this movie. You see her in the trailer. Basically what you see in the trailer is like half of her screen time. So I was just like, oh wow, they didn't really use her that much. I was just kind of surprised to get that big of a name person for that small of a role, but okay. Kevin Bacon plays the private detective after MaXXXine, and he's good. He'd probably be like my second favorite part of the movie after Mia Goth. And then another criticism that I do have to talk about is predictability. So I did mention that this movie is basically works as like a mystery noir, which is great. It kind of has you guessing throughout like what's going to happen. But me and a lot of other people that saw the movie did pretty much predict what the reveal was going to be at the end. I mean, even before I went into the movie, I had a thought of like, I wonder if her dad will come back, because that was like the big reveal at the end of X. You know, this movie in the marketing, they use the Richie Ramirez Night Stalker as like the big hook that is MaXXXine going to be going up against a Night Stalker. And of course, that's not the case. We never actually see the Night Stalker. It's set up that way to make you think it is. And it ends up being that it's her father. Again, a bit predictable, But I think that would still be the best route to go because I couldn't really imagine who else they could have put in that spot that would have made more sense. And then what I did like about what this movie does story-wise is that it uses the events of X as a big factor as to what's happening to MaXXXine in this movie. I would like to have seen maybe a little bit more of the in-between of what happened when she left the farm in 1979 and how she got to Hollywood in 1985. I feel like this movie is going to need a second viewing for myself to maybe enjoy it a little bit more. That's kind of how I felt about the first two movies as well. I think I felt pretty mixed ultimately on X and Pearl the first time I saw it, although I was definitely leaning more to enjoying it than not enjoying it. And I'm the same way about MaXXXine. I still enjoyed it. If you're a fan of the first two movies, I definitely think you'll enjoy this one. Just again to see Mia Goth on screen, especially playing that character. And who knows, maybe we'll see another movie. I do believe that Ty West said the door is not closed. I personally think if they were to do another movie in this universe, do a Pearl sequel. Let's see what happens to her and Howard after the events of the original Pearl movie. We'll see them maybe a little bit older, and maybe even leading up to the events of 1979. But anyways, that's my take on MaXXXine. Ultimately, I did enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Alright, and for those that stuck around to the end of the video, I did allude that you are going to see a little something fun, so here it is. Just to give a little bit of context as to what this actually is, why I made this. So a couple years ago, A24 announced this thing called the X Casting Call, where basically if anybody wanted to try to audition to be in the new movie MaXXXine, they could do so by recreating the big scene at the end of X between Pearl and MaXXXine. So that's what I did, and I had a little bit of fun with it. So without further ado, here is the full version of Going a Little Extra. Enjoy.
Where are the fucking keys?
In the kitchen, under the lamp.
You're gonna rot when people find out what you've done. What I've done. You don't think I know who you really are? I saw what you did in the barn. You're a deviant little whore. We're the same. You'll end up just like me. I'm nothing like you. You're a murdering, kidnapping sex fiend. I'm a fucking star. The whole world's gonna know my name. I will not accept a life I do not deserve. Stop fucking staring at me!
It'll be our secret.